My name is Jeanette Marks. I'm the managing librarian at the Pink County Branch Library. And it is my privilege to introduce who claims she doesn't need an introduction, Pati LaLonde. But first I wanted to let you know that with the weather getting nicer, we're going to find ourselves out on the bay, enjoying the bay more. And I wanted to let you know that the planetarium is showing on Saturdays at 3:30 documentary on mysteries of the Great Lakes. It's an hour-long film that covers the history and current health of the Great Lakes and features music by Gordon Lightfoot. So if you're looking for something, Saturdays at 3:30. It's $5 a ticket for seniors and children, $7 for adults. And next Friday is our last spring book for lunch. Just as a little reminder, we will have author Rick Sigsbee talk about his newest book, Michigan's Holy Hops, the Great Lakes Beer Bible. You betcha. So make sure you bring all your beer crafting friends and family. It'll be a good one. I do not know if there's samples, so don't ask me, okay? The library has a pesky rule about no alcohol, so that's kind of I'd say no. All right, Pati LaLonde, for those that you may not know, is a freelance writer. She writes for the Great Lakes Bay Magazine and Midland Daily News. She's president of the Literacy Council Board of Directors, secretary of the Bay County Historical Society Board of Directors, and she's a monitor at Safe Haven Bay Area Women's Center. She is married with 2 children, 4. Oh, oopsie, bad intel. Okay, 4 grandsons and a dog named Daisy. Pati earned her associate's degree from Delta College. She enjoys working out and gardening. Please welcome Pati LaLonde.
I was married, okay? Just to get that straight. I'm sorry. That's okay. Hi, guys. Hi. How many of you have read the books? Cool. Some? What's the first thing the librarian said to you when you checked out one of the books? Nobody said anything? No matter which library I went to, no matter what number I was on, the first thing they said, you have to read those in order. Yes. Okay. And I did. Can we the series starts out with At Home in Mitford, and my cousin Gail gave me this book last May. My basement was flooded. You still can't see it? No. Very good. Okay. My basement was flooded. I was sick. My dog was sick. I was like up to here with all the crap that I could take. And then I opened opened my garage door before I shut the hatch on my SUV. Do you know what happens to a garage door when you do that? So, and she gave me the book, and I was so, and I started reading it, and all of a sudden I calmed right down, and when I found out there were 12 others in the series, along with little side books to read, I didn't put them down until I was done, which was sometime maybe in August. I mean, I just bam, 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 bam. And the first one starts out, and I'm going to tell you guys, if you're going to check them out today, read them in order. What's great about these books is you walk into this town, this woman is such an incredible writer, and you live in this town with these people while you're reading the book. And Father Tim is the Episcopalian preacher in the town of Mitford. It has, well, I brought a cheat sheet. It's called the bedside. Let me get to this section here about, oh, I went through this morning with kids yammering at me. Let me find it, and I'll tell you about the town and who lives there. And, yeah, and I'm sorry, you guys. first name, which of course it is. The town is full of merchants. It's only 2 blocks long, and it's in sets in a valley between two mountain ranges. But it has a grill where all the locals hang out for breakfast and lunch, eat things they're not supposed to have because their wives aren't looking. It also has a bookstore called Happy Endings Bookstore, and like during the month of October, all books whose titles start with O are 20% off. Or sometimes, like, she'll take a mountain theme, and her name is Hope Winchester. And then Joe's Barbershop is where all the men in town go to get really bad haircuts before sneaking upstairs to the salon and getting it all straightened out by a beautician called the Hair House. There's also Mitford Blossoms, where you buy your flowers, Sweet Stuff Bakery that has all the good sweets, and the Collar Button. And everybody has a name in this book except the man who owns this store. He's just called the Collar Button Man. And Oxford Antiques, Dora Pugh's Hardware Store, the Chelsea Tea Shop and Irish Woolen Shop. And also along the way you'll meet Father Tim collects people and animals. He ends up with an orphan named Dooley. His grandfather leaves him with him, and he raises him throughout the 13 books. And a big dog named Barnabas that they describe as being as big as a couch. So, and it kind of confirmed in this, the dog's probably a Bouvier. And I don't know if you've ever seen one, but oh my God, they're like a pony. So, that's how it starts out. And then it goes to his church and all the people. It kind of introduces you to everybody in town. And can I fit through here? I quit smoking, gained 20 pounds. I can't fit where I used to fit anymore. I know.
Okay.
Except, you know, there's some days writing was hardest because I would start a story and then I kind of stop and go out and have a cigarette and think about what I wrote and figure out where I wanted to go from there. And now it's like, the second one is called A Light in the Window, and this is where we meet Cynthia. And Father Tim is kind of balding, little pudgy. He describes himself, or she describes him as not quite handsome. And his next door neighbor moves in, and we really don't know what these people look like, but he says she's absolutely beautiful. There's no way that she would be interested in him. And they do end up, they get married. So far, they're both still alive, living out the rest of their life together. And that one was called A Light in the Window. She moved in next door to him, and she did have a lady from his church who gives...
People can hear.
Oh, I'm sorry. I have a big mouth. You guys can't hear me. He also has a widow who gives a lot of money to the church pursuing him, and she keeps him at her house one night. And I'm trying to think if she put something in his drink so he kind of passed out in the chair. And then made sure that Cynthia, the one he loves, knew about it. But these are happy books. It all worked out. This one, I'm trying to remember. It still goes back to Mitford. He's married Cynthia, and they have, you know, the dog. She has a cat named Violet. She is a writer of children's books that center around her cat named Violet. And Dooley and Barnabas is the name of the dog. So, and again, they just bring you into this town, and you feel like, I would move there in a heartbeat if this was a real town. I would just pack up and go, even though I have 4 grandsons. And this is the fourth book. I don't know. You know what? I'm going to grab the book. Is it here? Yeah, and that'll help me with it. And then for those of you that have read the books, we have a little trivia game we're going to play. Father Tim is retired. They're trying to figure out where they're going to go. Also, you'll meet the mayors. We should go through the characters too. I haven't done this in so long. Spoke to a group that, forgive me for being a little bit out of it. Anyway, there's a new mayor running for new guy running for mayor against the very popular mayor. The town is against it. Does he make it? You guys will have to read it and find out. But why don't we stop here and check out some of the characters in town. Okay, as you know, Father Tim is the Episcopalian priest. He also has a secretary named Emma who takes care of everything in the church. Keeps it all neat and tidy. Harold Newland is the postman. And then there's Bishop Stuart Cullen. They were buddies in seminary school and they're friends. And he pops in and out of the different books. And then his wife, Martha. Let's see, we'll get some of the more interesting one. Miss Rose Watson, she lives with Uncle Billy Watson, who is famous for these just crazy jokes that really aren't funny, but the whole town laughs anyway. And Miss Rose dresses a little strange, may have dementia, but she's a lot of fun and she likes to direct traffic around the memorial in Mitford, the Veterans Memorial. She's very cool. And some of the town gets up, you know, in arms about it. And Miss Sadie Baxter, she owns Fern Bank and she's one of the richest ladies in town. And everybody absolutely loves her. She also helps out Dooley a whole lot, reaches lifetime dream. He wants to be a veterinarian. Little boy from the streets with an alcoholic mother and an abusive father. And he did it, you know, like I said, he ended up with Father Tim. And he turns his life around. And just, that part makes you cry too. Who else did I like? There's Avis Packard, who owns the main grocery store in town. They just call it the Local because it sells all kinds of local food. Anything that's in season you can get at this place. Unless you want to drive up on the highway to, you know, the regular grocery store, but nobody wants to do that. And then we have J.C. Hogan. He's editor of the Mitford News, also the main writer. News is pretty much how he sees it. And then, let's see. Well, Puny Bradshaw, she keeps the Father Tim's house clean, and she also gives birth to twins after she gets married. These are clean books. We've already talked about Cynthia. And then there's also Lou Boyd. He owns the big Exxon station, only gas station in town. And it's when the diner closes, and this is, you know, a big part of one of the books, they go over to the tea shop where they get all these fancy foods and things, and these are guys, and they're not sure. So they decide to move over to the Exxon station and eat man sandwiches out of a machine. Those are so much better for you. And then there's a character called Homeless Hobbs, and he lives out in what I guess could be called the ghetto of Mitford. But he's a philosopher, and Father Tim goes to him a lot to hash out what he's thinking and just talk to him. And let's see, Pauline Barlow, she's Julie's mom. Like I said, she's an alcoholic. She's also someone who turned her life around. And he has brothers and sisters that are scattered all over. Some are with cousins, you know, some are here, some are there. And once she gets straightened around, it's her goal to get all her kids back. And Father Tim helps her find all the kids. So, but I'm not going to tell you how it turns out. Some of it's good, some of it's bad, you know. And the one too that Home to Holly Springs, somebody had asked about that one, if she went back there again. They didn't, if you hadn't get to the end of the books. But he didn't have a good relationship with his mom and dad. And he goes home to find out there was some kind of a secret, and he didn't know what it was. And he went home and he found out, and I don't want to spoil it for you guys, but it was surprising what had happened in that family that changed, you know, everything. So, and one, let's see, his dad was Episcopalian and his mom was Baptist, so it was kind of, you know, oh, let's see. Now we have all the pets. When Dooley grows up, he marries another woman from the bad part of Mitford. Her name is Lace. And they get married and move to a farm where he does get to become a vet. And they inherit dogs and horses and a big bull, and who interrupts their wedding. And everybody's freaking because this bull is huge. And it walks right in down the aisle. So, but and then of course, like I said, we have that nasty widow who tried. Her name is Edith Mallory. She tried to lasso Father Jim. And they're, you know, they kind of go off too. When he retires, he goes off on what's it called, pulpit. Westminster people, what's that called? Pulpit. When you
sabbatical?
no,
Filling in the pulpit?
yeah, when you fill in at the pulpit, but it's called something else.
What, interim?
That's okay. You guys know what I mean, right? So he goes to other churches and works once he gets going. Some of them are pretty cool. There was one way back in the mountains, a church that hadn't been used in years. And he got, the parishioners came from all over the mountains and the hills, and they all, you know, they didn't, it wasn't a little town, they just lived all over. And they got the church up and running again. And I thought that was very cool. Every part of this, there was only one book I didn't like. I'm not going to tell you which one it was because my cousin Gail said, the only one I didn't like was, and then when I got to it and I started reading, I thought, I don't like this either. But she could have put the thing in my head, so I'm not going to tell you which one. You never know. There's, like I said, there's tons of dogs, tons of people. Just, I don't know, these books just hit me so deeply that, you know, just to come out and say, hey, these are wonderful books, go read them, you can't. They just kind of touch your life. And there's one prayer I remember, and I said it this morning because I've been sick again for the last, since Saturday. But it starts out, God, thank you for loving me, and thank you for sending your son to die for my sins. I renounce all my sins and put myself in your hands. So, and that I'm awful because I only pray it when I'm, you know, like at my wit's end. Like, come and get this. I don't want to do this anymore. Also, there's a lot of quotes, Bible verses that you should look. One of my favorite is Galatians 4:3. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And just, you know, there is Bible verses and prayers in here. There's also recipes. They are spiritual, but don't think that they are totally religious, pushing you towards something religious. They're not. They just make you feel good. They're a good place to hide. I always love a book where I can go hide. When, you know, or that'll make me laugh, but these are good hiding books. And some of this is funny, and some does make you laugh. The one where he goes into the church I told you about to fix it up is called In This Mountain. And some of the characters in it are just, is that the one? Anyway, they're like right out of the hills. You know, like you would expect them to have a still out behind their house, maybe sitting on the porch in a rocker, which I do too, but, you know, just every character in these books is unique. So how many of you think, how many, again, read the books? Some of them?
And how many times have you read them?
I've only read them once. Oh, what I wanted to tell you guys, in September, the 14th book is coming out. And it's called To Be Where You Are. It's by Putnam. And if you go to, if you're on Facebook, go to her Facebook page. Putnam wants to know, now that they put out the announcement, how are you going to prepare for the 14th book coming out? I think I'm going to stop on my way out and reserve it. Can I do that? Or no?
I will look it up right now.
Okay. It's got to be good. And I hope that he stays with his friends. Okay. Let me find that. We'll see if we can do some of the trivia. I went through it and I couldn't get all of it because it's been, the dog Barnabas, everybody remembers Barnabas, totally unruly, does not understand what the word sit means, stay, anything. But he does respond to one thing. Does anybody remember what that is?
Scripture.
Yeah, I thought that was cool. Meadowgate Farms Bay Mare is known as Blank Owen, and she also tossed Dooley in the pig slop pit. And I had to go back and look this one up. Does anybody remember?
What's the question?
Meadowgate Farms Bay Mare. What's her name?
Whose name?
The name of the horse.
Oh,
Yeah. Does anybody remember what color Cynthia's eyes are?
Green.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with that. I was thinking blue and then I thought, no wait, they're green. Does anybody remember what the big car that Miss Sadie used to drive, what it was?
that was a Plymouth.
A Plymouth? Do you remember what she hid in it?
Did she hid in it?
Yeah.
$901. I mean, 9 $100 bills.
And that got Dooley started off on his trip to veterinary school. Now, buckwheat Bowser, Baudelaire, Bodacious, and bone meal. Does anybody know what they are or who they are? You just read these books, didn't you?
No, but I've read them more than once.
Oh, okay.
They were the dogs at the farm.
Yeah. How many people live in Mitford?
In the neighborhood of 1,000.
I'm so glad you're sitting there.
She's so glad you're sitting here.
And Violet was invited out to dinner. Remember, Violet is Cynthia's cat. With Miss Addison, do you remember her cat's name?
Who?
Miss Addison's cat's name?
Oh, boy.
I had that too. Okay,
She was some character.
and who had the wedding reception at Miss Sadie's house?
I couldn't hear you.
Who had the wedding reception at Miss Sadie's house? Do you know?
I still didn't hear you. At Miss Sadie's house, they had their wedding reception there.
Right, yeah.
Oh,
Father Tim and Cynthia. Does anybody know Mule's last name?
Whose last name?
Mule.
Skinner.
Yeah. Even if you didn't read the books, that one's kind of easy to figure out, isn't it? Does anybody remember the name of Omer Cunningham's plane?
What's the question?
Was it the Red Baron?
I don't know. And remember after Miss Sadie died and Fernbake was sold and it was turned into an Italian restaurant? Do you remember the name of it? The restaurant at Fernbake, the Italian restaurant.
Restaurant? Lucerna.
How many times have you read the books?
How many times? 3 or 4.
Really? I'm like that with Harry Potter. I think I've read all the Harry Potter books 5, 6 times.
Really?
I just finished the last one
Harry Potter?
this morning.
Really? When I got the last Harry Potter book, I didn't go to church because our pastor was reading them too, and I thought he might be ahead of me, and I'm going to go to church and he's going to say something and he's going to spoil it. So I didn't go. I stayed home and finished the book. Let's see.
Which book was it in where they had some kind of a meal at Rose and Bailey's? They had a meal there, and everybody was hesitant because you never knew what she was going to.
Oh,
What was that book?
I don't.
Yeah.
I mean,
It was a going away party.
Yeah, and she said, well, they'd have it at, well, they decided to have it at Sadie's and Bailey's. But they said that, or Billy's, I guess it was.
Yeah, Billy's.
Billy's, yeah. And she would leave stuff in the refrigerator so long that it would, hair onto it and everything, and so they were kind of leery of it. But I don't remember which one it was.
I've not read the books, nor am I familiar with them. You said, there's kind of a spiritual feel to them. Is there any suspense or drama or? Give me an idea of.
No, they do get lost in a cave, but you can, and plus Father Tim ends up like on the bad side of a hurricane, but not.
It's more a character experience?
Yeah, they, you just get the feel that whatever's going on is gonna turn out okay. And like I said, that last book, I don't want to give too much away, but Lace and Julie, it mostly centers on them and their wedding and how badly they want children, and they can't because of her being beaten by her dad. And which, yeah, it's serious, but it all turns out okay in the end. So they're all happy endings. And the reason we cried, and again, it wasn't because it was sad, it was just a beautiful, beautiful love story. So we should all be so lucky. Does anybody have a favorite one above all of them that they've read? You like them all? Why don't we look at some of Uncle Billy's? Oh, I know. Do you know how, I wanted to do this in the beginning. Do you know how the books got started? She was working in an ad agency, making potfuls of money, unhappy because, truth in advertising is something that just really doesn't happen anymore. She sold everything, left a high-paying job, bought a little house in the mountains by her brother, and started working for a weekly paper. And she started writing columns. And she said God kept telling her to go ahead, do this, I'll be with you, I'll guide you through it. But she still couldn't quite get a book, but they were about these people. And after a year, she had her book from those columns. And then things just went from there. And just, and it spawned all of this. And for a writer, I think, just 2 years between books.
Oh my gosh.
Because, the new one comes out in September. This last one came out in 2014. So, I think that's amazing that she could do that. So I don't know how she lets them go. That's one of the hard things I have when I write a story, is sending it to the editor and thinking, no, wait, I want that back. No, wait, I want to do this. Yesterday I wrote a story for the magazine and sent it, and then 10 minutes later I rewrote it and sent it back and said, this is the one I want for sure. And my deadline isn't until Monday, so I may for sure want a different one before then. So it's hard. I gotta tell you guys, I probably shouldn't do this, but this little snippy PR person, I interviewed some country guy. I don't do country, but I did it. Got snippy with me about how I wrote, and I wanted to say, how old are you? I did tell her I was in the newspaper business for 32 years. Don't tell me how to write. And I won't tell you how to do PR. But anyway, I just had to share that because my editor said, no, you can't yell at her. So, well, fine. Do you guys who work, anybody have over the years had a boss younger than them? Don't you think yeah, right. Go make coffee. No, I never said that, I promise. Where's Uncle Billy's jokes in here? See, I shouldn't have done this with 3 kids screaming at me, should I? Does anybody remember a favorite joke of Uncle Billy's? Okay, so here's one of Uncle Billy's jokes that includes Rose. So Rose said to me, she said, Bill Watson, I'm going to give you a piece of my mind. And I said, just a small helping, please. He grinned broadly at the rector. Yes, sir, I told Rose what you said about giving the house to the town and them giving her a nice modern place all fixed up in the back. And she said the only way she'd do it was if the statue was like Sherman or Grant or one of them, don't you know? Uncle Billy, if you know, always says after everything, don't you know? That's when I thought, when I said he ought to be sitting down, and she liked that. Uncle Billy chuckled, preacher, I took Rose for better or for worse, but I declare she's much worse than I took her for. What about this couple too? Like I said, she has a touch of dementia, and he just takes such good care of her. Just absolutely wonderful. Okay, when the old man called the office, he felt instantly encouraged. Uncle Billy, how are you? Pretty good considering I done fell off a 12-foot ladder. Good Lord, is anything broken? Why, it's a miracle you survived. Well, sir, to tell the truth, I only fell off the bottom rung. Okay, you remember that dictionary I found in the dumpster Uncle Billy asked him when they met on the street? And this is all with Father Tim. I do. I can't hardly enjoy reading it anymore. Is that right? Yes, sir. It's one thing here and another thing there. They're always changing the subject, don't you know? The rector rolled his eyes and chuckled. That's my new joke, but it's not my main joke. I'm working out my main joke for spring. By the almanac, spring comes official on June 21. Well, then you've got a little time, he said. Let me treat you to a cheeseburger. And if you know Uncle Billy, anything he can get, they doesn't have to eat Miss Rose's cooking, is good. Okay, well, sir, a feller died who had lived a mighty sinful life, don't you know? The minute he got down to hell, he commenced to Boston around the imps and all is saying, do this, do that, and jump to it. Well, sir, he got so dominating that the little devils reported to the head devil, who called the feller in. He said, how come you act like you own this place? Feller said, I do own it. My wife gave it to me when I was living. This is one about, let's see. Well, sir, there was two fellas working on the sawmill, don't you know? And the first one got too close to the saw and cut his ear off. Well, it fell in the sawdust pit, and he was down there trying to find it, don't you know? The other feller said, what are you doing down here? First one said, I cut my ear off and I'm looking for it. The other fellow jumped in the pit and said, I'll help you. Got down on his hands and knees and went to looking around and hollered, here it is, I done found it. First feller, he took it and gave it to the one sober, don't you know? And he said, keep a looking, mine had a pencil behind it. I know. And these are sprinkled throughout the book. It's not like a whole chapter of his jokes. Like every once in a while he'll pop up and tell a joke. He always has one for special occasions. A preacher died, don't you know, and was waiting in line at the pearly gates. Ahead of him is a feller in blue jeans, a leather jacket, and a tattoo on his arm. St. Pete says to the feller with the tattoo, who are you? So I'll know whether to let you in the kingdom of heaven. Feller says, I'm Tom such and such. I drive a taxi cab in New York City. St. Pete looked at the list and says, take this silk robe and gold staff to enter the kingdom of heaven. Then he hollers, next. The preacher steps up, sticks out his chest and says, I'm the Reverend Jimmy Lee Tapscott, pastor of First Baptist Church for 43 years. St. Pete looks at his list, don't you know, and says, take this flour sack robe and hickory stick and enter the kingdom of heaven. Preacher says, wait a dag-hang minute. The man was a taxi cab driver and he gets a silk robe and gold staff? St. Pete says, when you preach, people slept. When he drove, people prayed. Okay, the baby sister, she was sitting in the kitchen having a cup of coffee and said, guess I'll have to go up yonder and help out. I hope I never get that forgetful, knock on wood. Weren't knocking on the table, don't you know, then jumped up and hollered, I'll be there as soon as I see who's at the door. So, anyway, we have a few minutes. Do you guys have any questions about the books, even if you haven't read them? I try to remember everything, but there's a lot. You know, I've been going over them in the last couple weeks, and I just found this yesterday here, or the day before here, so. But.
What about the writer?
Jan Karon, well, she was in the ad agency and got out of it because it didn't suit her. And then they started out as a newspaper column, and then they turned into the books.
She seems to have a great sense of humor.
Yeah, she does. And it's not just with Father Tim and Cynthia have a lot of fun. And you know, there are some, what do I want to say, heart-wrenching moments, but mostly it's very upbeat. And like I said, they get you through some bad times. So, anything else?
Remember Cynthia and how she put her hair up every night and she put it in the pink curlers? I used to use the pink curlers. And she always, when she'd take them off, there was always two missing. They were in her hair.
Oh, yeah, I would.
Remember? And
Yeah.
she'd go out and these pink curlers would bob around as she was talking to people, and they went to see the bishop.
Yep, go ahead, you tell it.
And so, Father knew about it, he saw them, but he didn't want to say anything to her, that those things were there, and he tried to motion to her. Well, she didn't know, you know, she was so bubbly, she was just a bubbly person in all of this. And so she got mad at Father Tim because he didn't tell her those curlers were in her hair. and they were visiting with the bishop. So I loved it. Every time there was a scene about the, she repeated
Yeah.
the same thing. I loved it.
Oh, there was that, remember that part too where he had diabetes
Yes,
and he wouldn't do anything about it, and he
yeah,
had some close calls
yeah.
and a car accident. But again, things work out. I guess what I like about it is no matter how bad it gets, you're going to hit bottom and it's going to get better. So
I was just gonna ask, what was the name of the book that you got the tribute?
oh, it's called the Mitford Bedside Companion, and it has little bits and pieces from all the books in it. So I thought it'd be a great read to kind of refresh myself before I got here today. It also has all the characters, including all the pets. There's a lot of pets. Everybody has a pet. Does anybody want to share one of their favorite chapters or favorite books? You want to talk about this last number 13?
Sure, what is it?
Somebody is taking this home today. Oh, that's right. I promise I'll get it to you. It starts out, like I said, Julie's grown up. He's graduated from vet school and opened his own animal clinic at the farm. Money's tight, and he and Lace Harper, his soulmate since childhood, are trying to keep their wedding simple. So the plan is to eliminate the cost of catering and do a potluck, which, you know what? Weddings right now are so incredibly expensive. We should do that. I mean, I don't have anybody getting married anymore. Thank God they're all married and gone. But, I can't believe what a wedding costs. Get married in a park, So anyway, everybody brings a dish to pass, and the orange marmalade cake, remember that? Esther Burdick, right, makes the cake. At whatever they're doing, she has to have this orange marmalade cake at whatever they're doing. The two, like I said, they live on their farm. He has an office, and they run a tent. They have a tent on the grounds. Everybody's brought the food. They're up there getting ready to say their vows, and in walks their big bull. And it takes the band playing music, and the bull follows them back to his enclosure where he's supposed to be. And all the time Julie's fuming until he remembers that he's the one that left the gate open. And all, of course, the dogs and the horses and everybody gets to come to the wedding. So, do you have a favorite book or no? Yeah, you just like them all?
I like them all.
Okay, I think I asked you that, didn't I? Any other questions? I'm not, they haven't really said what the new book is about, just it's coming. And if you're on, like I said, if you're on Facebook, or maybe Putnam Publishing has it out too. I saw it on my Facebook page, that's why I knew it was coming. To tell them, how many are going to read all the books again before this comes out in September? How many have you read them at all? Yeah. How many are going to read maybe the last two? The last one? Oh, I was going to take this home, and they said she's taking it. We have till September to read it. So, and then, like I said, there's side books. I've read a couple of them. They're okay, but they're just cute little reads. They don't kind of draw you into the people like the Mitford books. Let me see. And is everybody on the internet?
No.
Well, you can get her newsletter, and that's the address to get it. And it'll, it'll tell you when new stuff's coming out, and just, her thoughts. And, 'cause like I said, she started out as a newspaper, well, at ABC before becoming a newspaper columnist. So.
Patty,
Yes?
for those who would like, you can place a hold now on that new book coming in the fall. Just go to one of the desks and have your library card with you or your name. I can't do it on my phone without your card.
Okay, I'll go see Cassandra. Why isn't this going back? Come on, you.
Yeah, you might have to close.
Let's do this. There we go.
What's that? And the company of others, what's that?
I was hoping that. That's book 11. Hold on. Yeah, this is when they go to Ireland. This gets into, Cynthia finds an old book written about this town that they're in, and a lot of it goes back and forth between them and this. So, okay, if you didn't guess, this was the one I didn't like.
So that's another,
No, that's book 11.
okay, I haven't read that.
Yeah.
What
So,
about Shepherds Abiding? I read it, but I can't remember. How many chapters do each book?
they're not super big, and they're a really easy read. There's not, I can probably, maybe 3 days it took me to read one. But the weather was crummy, and like I said, I was sick, so I just read. So, which one were you asking about?
Shepherds Abiding.
Shepherds Abiding.
Otherwise, there.
Up.
No.
You're.
Here you go.
Oh, I remember. Those of you that read it, remember this one? He finds an old nativity scene, and it's not all that goes on in the book, but he spends a ton of time making it nice again for Christmas.
Yeah.
This was a good one. And that was right after he retired. Uh-oh, somebody's not happy out there.
Well, somewhere safe, somewhere good, somebody good.
Oh, yeah, that was good too. This is the one where Julie and Lace, they've been friends forever, but they finally decide that, yeah, they were meant for each other. And it was just, it's just another good read.
It's been some time since I read the series, but I would recommend the books in the sense that it's a time and a place and the characters are so richly drawn.
Yeah.
And the goodness of each one.
Yes.
Despite the hardness and the troubles that they have to face, and the courage and the leadership shown by Pastor Tim and Cynthia and the other characters in the book. So you are drawn to, and you care about them.
Yeah.
As I say, the goodness shines through, and that's the comforting thing. We're cynical. We're cynical people now, and it's very refreshing and renewing to read about people like this. And I just recommend them.
Do you think if...
It's not saccharine. It is not saccharine.
No, there's, trials and tribulations, but do you think, I know Bay City isn't a thriving metropolis, but maybe if we lived like, Ross Common, Grayling, someplace like that, we would view the world differently if we were in a smaller town like Mitford. Did you? You know what I love about Grayling? At Christmas, everything is lit up. All the stores, the houses. It is so beautiful up there at Christmas time.
And you usually have lots of snow.
Yes. I went up there to go skiing. That's why I was there in the wintertime. I just wonder, like I said, I know Bay City, but I wonder if the internet has, come into our lives so much, and there's so much bad stuff out there that no matter where you are anymore, there isn't a place where you can be, and I don't want to say these characters are pure, but where you can kind of sit back and look at life a little bit differently than maybe people in Detroit or Flint or Saginaw.
It takes that sarcastic feeling away.
Yeah. We're still pretty good here. If something happens here and you need a volunteer, boy, there's going to be 50 people who are going to step up and help you if you need help. But I was reading an article in Time this week, and it was about the internet trolls and how they get into your Facebook pages and make you just feel like crap. Whatever you say, whatever you do, they go after you about it. And I found out that can even be friends. I had to get rid of 2 of my friends because I just couldn't deal with it anymore. And I don't want people like that seeing pictures of my grandkids. They don't need to know what they... I'm on Facebook, but privacy all of a sudden is like somebody will call me, where are you? None of your business. What do you want? Why weren't you at the gym? Because I was someplace else. People don't need to always know where you are. We're getting off topic, aren't we? But
Well, we are too well connected. With cell phones, 24-hour television, there is no place you can really isolate yourself anymore.
And I have gotten into the bad habit. I get up in the morning, my dog is still sick. If she makes it to the end of summer, I'm going to be surprised. But she's on steroids, so we get up at 4 for her to go to the bathroom. I turn on CNN, and it is on 90% of the time until I go to bed. I cannot do that anymore. That's why I was so glad to come here today. It's making me crazy. The news, I watch news from the time I get up until the time I go to bed.
When I get tired of all that, I turn on the Hallmark channel.
Yeah.
It reminds me, there's always something happening. Hallmark history and movies.
I just saw, I started watching garage sale mysteries.
Yeah.
I love that, those are so good. That's kind of like this. So, that's kind of, see how her and Candace Cameron have changed from, what was that show called? Not Bex.
Oh, yeah.
Family Ties? No, that was Michael J. Keaton. No, that was the one at the boarding school. And then his uncle and his best friend, or his brother-in-law and best friend move in.
Full house.
Full house. Thank you. That's still on too, you guys. So anyway, does anybody else have any other questions? Go right out and check out these books. And nobody goes to hold that book until I get out there.
Thank you